Hey guys, so today I had a ton of soap to cut for a wholesale order and thought I would take you along with me to chat about a few things, like soap bar size and shape, my favorite soap molds and why, how I make sample soaps, and how I deal with soap discoloration due to vanilla content. All of that and more is in this video, so if you want to relax and have a laid back chat about soap and running a soap business, then keep watching. So these are the soaps that I made yesterday, and you can see that they are different shapes. The ones that are lower are more of a square shape, which you'll see when I cut it. And the soap that's in these beautiful Winston and Walter molds are my usual tall and skinny soap bar. And the reason why there's two different shapes is because we have a wholesale customer that likes to order small sample size soaps, and I like to make them in the square shape because then I can cut them in half, and you'll see once I cut it how cool it looks. I think I'll do the square sizes first. So let me put away these guys. Oops. And let's start with the French lavender soap, which is this guy right here. I've been making this soap for years and I've always loved making it. It's just such a gorgeous color palette and the scent of it is to die for. Getting soap out of these wooden loaf molds is really easy. You guys will notice that I had to line these with parchment paper because they didn't come with a silicone lining, which I think is super handy, but the parchment paper works really well. So to get it out, you just lift up the soap off the two ends there, and there you go. And to peel it away from the parchment, it's so easy, just like that. Just gonna lift up to the bottom, like so. And then we have a gorgeous loaf of lavender soap. It smells amazing. To cut the soap, I'm using a single wire cutter. I have been looking into getting a multi-bar cutter. Still shopping around for that and trying to decide which one I want to go with. But I do like the single bar cutter for making sample size soaps because you can really customize the soap shape that you want because this part of it is so easy to adjust. To start making my sample bars, I just cut off the ends just like I do with my tall and skinny soaps. And then I save this for a little soap giveaway with all of my online orders. Lavender soap was one of the first soaps that I attempted as a soap maker because lavender is such a classic soap scent and so many people love it, myself included. I really love the scent of lavender. It's really, really calming and soothing. When I thought about this color scheme, I knew that I wanted two tones of lavender, and that gray purple, it just makes me think of French things. I don't know why, but it's such a classic shade. And I wanted to incorporate that into my soap design. The square shape is nice because you have a lot of soap palette to create your designs with. It's pretty limited with the tall and skinny. It still works, but I do love the shape. And I have a bit of a drag mark here. And some people really don't like those drag marks, but I like them. I think they're cool. It reminds me that this soap is handmade and not, cut by a machine. It's cut by a person. So beautiful. Oh, look at these drag marks. Whenever I cut soap, without fail, there's always someone that comments that I should cut my soap sideways so I don't get these drag marks. But I don't mind them. Look at the swirl design, gorgeous. So here are the cut bars of the lavender soap. And before I cut them even more into their sample sizes, I'm just gonna cut the rest of the soap because I really like the width of this bar. And it's easier than fiddling with this guy again and again, over and over again. So we're just going to just cut all of the soap And then once that's done, then we can cut the stuff into smaller samples. So we've cut the square version of my raspberry vanilla soap. I wanted to show you guys the tall and skinny version of that same soap that I made using my Winston and Walter soap mold. And this is the tall and skinny 20-inch long mold, and I love it. Highly recommend these molds if you want to level up your soap making and want something that helps you make soap easier, but also really helps your soap look a little bit more professional, in my opinion. Because the great thing about these silicone molds is that they really give a sharp edge to the soap that parchment paper just can't give my soaps. And they just make the whole process a lot faster because you're not spending time making parchment paper liners for your soap mold. It really is a huge, huge time saver. And getting them out is super easy. Just like that. And a quick tip for anyone who has multiple of these Winston and Walter molds is to keep the liners with the soap mold that they came in, because each liner is fitted to that specific soap mold. And sometimes the difference in these wooden molds are a few millimeters. It's tiny, but it does make a difference, because if you don't use the right silicone liner for the mold that it's fitted to, then you'll get buckling. So what I've done is I've numbered them. This says 2, and I've written 2 over here in permanent marker just to keep everything together. And ever since I've been doing that, the molds don't buckle anymore, which is awesome. So here is my tall and skinny version of that raspberry vanilla soap. And this is another soap I've been making for years. Haven't changed the design very much because I love it so much. And that's the thing about me, like, I do like to change things. As those of you who have watched my channel probably know, my last video was all about how many times I've changed my soap packaging. But when it comes to certain things that work, I stick with them. And if my customers love something, then I'm more likely to have that thing stick around. It's only, it only makes sense, right? So just like with those soap samples, I'm gonna cut off the ends. Then I'm going to just cut. And then I'll just keep going. I just really love the purple, pink, and black and white combo. It's so dessert-like. And when I first started making this soap, I didn't see anyone using the color black with their raspberry vanilla soaps. But having a black soap bar is actually quite nice. I should use the color black in more of my soaps because I think it really helps the design pop a lot more. And it's so different. I have made slight changes to the design of the soap. I used to put candy sprinkles on the top when I first started making it, and I've since moved away from candy sprinkles only because they add so much to an ingredient list. In Canada, you have to list everything that goes onto your soap in the ingredients list. And when it comes to sprinkles, it makes an already long list super, super long. So I've moved away from it. I think the glitter on top is much nicer than the candy sprinkles. I wanted to show a quick comparison of the same soap scent in two different shapes, and how the Winston & Walter soap really looks so much cleaner with its sharper edges, and this soap shape is really nice, but I like how this one fits in my hands so much better. But everyone has their preferences. I know that a lot of people sell soap in this shape and their customers adore it, but ever since I made the switch to this size, it's been really good for my company. This is my Muskoka Woods soap, and it has an interesting color palette. I chose green and brown. There is a vanilla tone to this scent from one of the fragrance oils that I use for the blend. So this soap is actually going to turn a lot darker, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's fully cured. It's quite dramatic, the difference. I don't like using vanilla stabilizer. It's another ingredient that I don't want to bother adding to my long ingredient list already. But I can see why people want to fight against the brown. For me, I don't mind it so much. Already you can see it's turning brown, but when I cut into it, you're gonna see a much lighter shade on the inside. And the more the soap is exposed to oxygen, the browner it will get. Start with just the end piece. Going in, cutting. And that's what I mean when I talk about the soap getting more brown over time. This dark shade will spread over the face of the soap, and it'll actually make it even darker than this. When it comes to my soap scents, this soap scent does really well. People really like it. And what's great about it is that it's unisex. Both men and women really enjoy this soap. It has that nice pine scent to it, but also there's a vanilla in there. I know I talked about embracing the brown, but I do wish that the design stayed this vibrant. The soap is inspired by Ontario, where Kayla and I used to live. The Muskokas are such a gorgeous part of that province, and people love to get away there, and they like to go camping up there, and a lot of my friends had cottages up there. And when we lived in Ontario, that was a region that I really wanted to pay homage to. Because we lived really close to it. Our home was in Simcoe County, which borders the Muskoka County area. I might be wrong. For those of you that know better, let me know in the comments. And now that we're here in Alberta, it's one of those things that I've been going back and forth on, is whether or not I should change my names to be more Alberta sounding, if that makes sense. But I don't know, so far, I mean, we still make sales online, and it's nice to go back to our roots and remember where we came from in a soap company. So I think I'm just gonna keep it that way for a while, for at least as long as we're selling this soap. Because once I run out of the fragrance oils that I use to make the blend, I probably will just replace it with something else. This soap reminds me a lot of Zelda. You know that video game back in the 90s? I have a Switch, and I have been playing a lot of vintage N64 games. And one of the ones that came out recently was Pokemon Snap, and I've just been playing that a ton. It's just so fun to take pictures of Pokemon. So this is what it eventually looks like over time. And you can see how dark it gets from that vanilla element of the fragrance oil blend. It's super dark, but you can still see traces of that green swirl in there, and the little bit of darker brown from the cocoa that I use. But yeah, that's just the reality of working with a fragrance oil that has a high vanilla content in it. But even though the soap gets this dark, it still sells really well at the markets. People don't mind this dark brown soap. So we've cut all of our bars of soap, and these are the tall and skinny ones that will go to the wholesale customer that size. And here are the ones that I'm gonna cut down even further to make the small sample size. So I'll show you how I do that right now. So this soap is gonna be cut into 4 equal pieces. And I start by first of all removing this part of my soap cutter. And we are just going to cut the soap lengthways. So you get two really thin soaps. Then we're going to stack them. Then I'm just going to cut them down the middle like that. And that's why the square shape is perfect for these soap samples, because you get a little bit of a swirl design on each side. But if you were to do that with a tall and skinny, the swirl distribution wouldn't be as good. And here we have 4 soap sample sizes. So I'm going to do that with the rest of these soaps and show you just how many I get. So this is my progress so far, and you can see how I can get so many little soap samples from that big log of soap. So I'm just going to keep going and then put it away and then move on to the next thing on my to-do list. So all the soap is cut and I have a big mess on my hands, so I have to spend some time cleaning not just this stuff, but I have soap dishes from last night that I have set aside to harden, because soap dishes are way easier to clean once the oils and lye have saponified into actual soap, so I have to clean that up. So yeah, that's the glamorous side of being a small business owner, guys. So that's it, 80 bars of soap cut and ready to start curing, and these cure for about 4 weeks before they're ready to go and ready to sell. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me. If you like these more casual, chatty type of videos, let me know in the comments, and please leave a like, it really helps the channel. If you want to make soaps like these, I have full recipes with steps all on my Patreon, which is linked in my description box. Speaking of Patreon, thank you to my wonderful patrons. Your generosity and sweet messages are such a big help to me and my small business. And a big thank you goes out to my Bubble BFFs listed right here. You guys are so awesome and I appreciate you so much. And thank you to you for watching all the way to the end. For more videos like this every Tuesday and Friday, please subscribe. And until the next video, keep smiling, keep being awesome, and keep making beautiful things like cold processed soap. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.